What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of HRT. I hope your week was swell. I'm excited about this week's guest, like I always am. His name is Kai. Kai lives all the way in Australia. I think it is absolutely crazy that I'm reaching people all the way in Australia. I think that is the darnest coolest. What? The darnest? I think that is the coolest thing in the world. Kai and I talked about some really cool things. We talked about his coming out story. We dove really deep into how we kind of unpack things as trans people when we have parents or loved ones telling us certain things, and at a young age, it can be really confusing to hear certain things. We also talked about Kai's documentary that he has on YouTube. I think you should really, really check out this documentary. It's about trans rights, trans healthcare in Australia. I learned a lot. It was really cool. We talk a lot about it in the episode, so I'm not going to give any spoilers away. But the link to that video will be in the description below, along with all of his social medias. So please, please, please go give him a follow. Yeah, it was a great episode. I hope you enjoy it. Before we dive into the episode, I have some news to share with you people, and it may not be the best news. I hope you're not mad at me. Um, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy. But as you all know, I drop podcast episodes every Tuesday. I'm not saying that I'm going to stop posting the podcast. I'm not. I'm going to continue it for as long as I live because this is my favorite thing to do. But there is a but. It may not be every Tuesday anymore. As you know, I have a different guest every single week of the podcast, which means I have to record every single week with a new guest, and with scheduling and finding people, and recording takes a long time with editing and whatnot. And then also having After Dark that also comes out every week. And then also my streaming that I do every week and my full-time job that I have. It is a lot. Um, and I don't want to stop. I want to keep going with it, but I think a part of me wants to slow down just a little bit so that in the long run I don't get burnt out. Um, and I also realized that I think that creators who are bigger than I am, who have more of an online presence, wouldn't be putting out wouldn't even be putting out this much content in 1 week. And I think that it is affecting my views and the algorithm and whatnot. So I think that if I slow down a little bit, it might help so I can start back up doing the podcast every single week again. Um, I hope that doesn't make you sad. I hope that doesn't make you angry. My After Dark content will still be coming out weekly. I do want to dive more into that, and doing this will give me the time to do that. So I hope you understand. I'm not sure what the schedule for the podcast episodes will be from here on out, but I can guarantee you that they will still come out on Tuesdays. I'm just not sure if it's going to be one Tuesday a month or two Tuesdays a month. But that information will be in the next episode. And I'm going to post it on all social media platforms, and I will post a little thing in the community thing on YouTube. Okay? We square? We good? I hope that's okay. Um, and yeah, I hope that I keep doing this for the rest of my life because it's my favorite thing to do. I absolutely love talking to trans people from all over the world. It brings me the validation that I need. It makes me truly happy. So I'm definitely not stopping. I'm just slowing down a little bit for viewing reasons and so that I don't get burnt out in the future. And I hope you understand. But you can still expect my streams every Wednesday and After Dark every Friday. And that's it, y'all. Make sure you follow me at HRT Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Follow my Twitch because I stream every Wednesday, and go check out After Dark if you haven't already. There's always bonus content on my Patreon. And Patreon also has a new feature where if you don't want to do a monthly subscription, you can just buy singular episodes. They're very cheap. I make them all for around like $3 or $5. So if you just want to buy one episode, go do that. I would appreciate it. I'm a small little guy trying to make it big. I'm a small guy trying to make it big. So that would help me out a lot. And if you could also hit subscribe on this video, give it a like, drop a comment. It would really go a long way. I would really appreciate it. Alrighty, I have talked your ear off for far too long, so I will let you enjoy this episode. All right, let's go talk to Kai. I love you all so much. Okay, bye. If I copy your accent, I'm sorry. I love Australian accents so much, dude.
That's so
I don't mean
fine.
anything like rude by it. It's just me trying to be you because I think you're so cool.
No, it's totally fine. I might end up copying yours as well. Who knows?
all you'd have to do is just go slay. Period. That's all I fucking say. So at least you guys are cooler with it.
Oh, I don't think so. No, Slay was definitely our go-to on set as well.
Really?
It's a universal term. It's
Period.
universal.
See, there you go. I can't stop.
We're already learning.
All right, I'm gonna start by asking you where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from Australia, in Queensland, Brisbane.
Ooh, God, I love the way you say Australia. Say it again.
Australia. How do you say Australia?
Australia. I mean, I guess it sounds the same, but from you, it just sounds so much cooler. How does Australia
Yes.
treat you as a trans person?
Honestly, pretty well. Like, I feel very lucky to be where I am. Like, just looking at the general like world and how they treat trans people around. Like, we're definitely one of the better countries, I think. Yeah, like we at least have basic rights. We're recognized. You can get like your name changed on your passport and sex changed on your passport pretty easily. And yeah, no, there's access to resources and everything, but it's not. It changes a lot depending on where you are. So like for cities and things, it tends to be very well, but I know it's not as good for rural areas. And yeah, like there's definitely been an uptick in like misinformation and all of that sort of stuff that's been a little bit concerning. But for me, I've never really had any issues, honestly.
That's good. I mean, it sounds like it could be better, but it sounds close to what, America is like. Although I think America's in a little bit of a tough spot with it, but
Yeah. I probably can compare it to more like the more like progressive states in America,
that's good.
of where we're at.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know that later in the episode we're going to talk a little bit more about Australia and trans people, so I'm going to save the rest of that conversation for later.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Nice, Slay. And are you on hormones?
Yeah, I am. I started in 2021. So about 3.5 years on T, I reckon.
Did you start in the pandemic?
No. Well, it was still a thing, but we weren't in lockdown or anything like
Right,
that.
you're in Australia.
Our main lockdowns were during 2020. Yeah. So in 2021 we were free, still wearing masks. But yeah, definitely the pandemic kind of fast tracked my starting hormones because when you're sitting inside thinking about things a lot.
That'll do it. Being alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, how do you take your hormones? Do you use shots or gel or?
Yeah, shots. Yeah, just once every 12 weeks.
Once every 12 weeks?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it like a big injection then? Or no?
Massive it takes like a minute to go in and it's super thick. It feels weird, but it's good because I don't have to do it myself. Like we don't do really personal injections here, so I just go to a doctor once every 12 weeks and get that injection.
Is that like the standard for trans people there?
Yeah, from what I know, that's what everyone else I know does. There's gel is also an option, and I think it kind of depends on how you respond to tea. So, like, I know some people are on 8 weeks or 6 weeks, but yeah, so far, like a 12-week cycle has been good for me.
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like somebody recently said the same thing. I don't know where they were living, but
Yeah, I think I listened to that episode. I think it's just country differences. I'm not quite sure.
so when you do or when you get the injection, like, cause like for me, when I've taken when I've taken injections in the past, like like my mood swings, like the first like 3 days after my shot will be fucking wild, and then it dies out, and then it starts again because it's like weekly or bi-weekly. But for you, since you're getting so much at once, is that like, do you get like mood swings and stuff for like 2 weeks and then it dies out? Do you think it works like that or no?
I've never really noticed any like mood swings, but I definitely get like a rush of energy. Like I find after my shot, I just want to like go to the gym or like run around or something. So I noticed that. And then towards like when I need a new one, I definitely start to get a little bit moody and I like get tired of it easier. But honestly, I think because it's such a large dose, after I've been doing it consistently for so long, it kind of stays at a similar level.
Hmm,
Like when I get blood tests and things, it doesn't really go up and down a huge amount, which
good.
I'm very happy about.
And you said when you get the injection that it hurts or just like it takes longer because it's like thick or whatever. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it just takes longer. Like it does hurt, especially if they like inject you the wrong way. That can hurt and can leave quite a big bruise.
Mm.
But um, I don't actually find it's that painful. It's really just it just feels weird. Like you can feel it going in.
Mm. Have you ever? I guess it probably doesn't matter to you as much because there's so much time in between injections. But have you ever thought about gel or wanted to go on gel?
Yeah, it was floated as an option when I was first starting, but I've never been very interested in it just because I don't like the idea of needing to think about it every morning. Like I like how I can just kind of get it over with and then just completely forget about the fact that I need to take
Mm.
hormones at all, and then I just book in my appointment. 15 minutes. It's very simple. So yeah, I think gel definitely is good for some people, but for me, it's just I don't want that reminder every morning, and I think I'd forget.
No, I don't blame you. If I had that option to do the 12-week shot, I think I would do that over the gel. Just because, as you said, I don't want to think about it
Yeah,
every
do you know why you don't have that
I
option?
don't know. I was never given that option. I
Yeah,
think one person that I know that's from the US gets one of those injections like every couple of months or so, but he's the only person I've ever heard of.
yeah.
I don't know if he asked for it. I think he's in Texas, so I think maybe it's just a Texas thing. I don't know. But definitely not a New York thing. I don't know a single New York motherfucker up in here doing testosterone every 12 weeks.
It's just yeah, it's strange to me because I remember when I was starting, a lot of the like creators and things I was watching to kind of get some more information, they're all like US based, and so I was kind of expecting to have to do my own injections, and then I found out that just wasn't really a thing we do here. Don't know why.
I feel like wait, that's actually interesting. When you were looking for trans creators, you found they were mostly in the US?
Yeah, yeah, mostly like US, UK based. I don't. There's definitely like Australian creators out there, but not a huge amount.
I don't think I know a single trans Australian creator. Hmm,
Yeah,
that's kind of fucked up.
there's like a couple podcasts and things, but yeah, it's I find like the trans community that at least the ones that like I'm part of, they tend to really lean towards like American and British people.
That's weird. Huh.
Yeah,
It's weird because like as you said, like Australia seems to be a little bit more progressive than other countries. So like, it's like why not? Like where are all you guys? you know? What I mean?
I think we just kind of like we're more progressive in some ways, less so in others, and we're kind of we're kind of like an amalgamation of the two cultures,
Mm.
I guess. Like we kind of just steal a bunch of other people's cultures, I think, and yeah, it's strange. Like even in the movie industry,
Oh,
it's we're all making American films while being Australian workers.
I never thought about that actually. Well, my next question for you is when you go to get your shot every 12 weeks, is that through just like your personal like healthcare provider, like your personal whatever doctor?
Yeah, I actually go to a private clinic specifically for that, which is a bit more expensive, but the doctor I go to, she's just so good that I wouldn't want to go through the public health system. It's a lot more iffy. I've had some bad experiences,
Yeah.
and yeah, um, you can't just have a regular GP prescribe you hormones. Like they can give you injections, but yeah, once I found her and went on hormones with her, I just decided to stick with her. Like it's worth the money when it's once every 12 months, just to have decent care and to know that she knows what she's talking about and that she knows what I need, and it won't be just randomly cancelled on me or
Yep.
anything.
I mean, stick with that for as long as you can. Cause like as soon as you switch it up,
Absolutely.
man, I mean, at least here in America, it's awful. Absolutely awful. Now, does Australia have anything? Have you heard of the company Folks or Plume? They're companies that are specifically for trans people. You could sign up. They take some insurances they don't. You sign up, tell them that you're trans, whatever, blah 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 blah, and they'll send you your hormones right to your door or to your local pharmacy.
Oh,
And they request like you have to like they're clinicians and stuff, so you have to make appointments with them, virtual appointments, like annual appointments and stuff, and then need you to get your blood work done, but it's just through them. Like you don't have to go through a doctor or anything. So I was wondering if Australia had anything like that.
no, no, we don't have anything like that. Not that I know of. It's all through the like main healthcare system. Like we've got Medicare here. So you can kind of go through that way. The easiest way is definitely through private if you've got the money for it, just because
Got it.
it is the fastest way. It's got the best
Mm,
doctors. But
interesting.
no, we don't have anything like that.
I those companies like I like them because they do make it easier for trans people, but they also have a lot of flaws too. So maybe
Yeah.
it's for the best.
Oh, I can imagine, but also I think about the fact that, like, in rural areas, because Australia is so big and spread out, that if you're in like a small outback town, there won't be a gender clinic
Mm,
there. And like, I know a lot of people, a lot of trans people will move to cities specifically just so they can have actual access to that kind of care, because otherwise there's not really much to do.
mm,
So I could see how like a service like that would be really beneficial to someone in one of those more rural areas.
yeah. Hey, maybe you should come up with it. New idea. You'd be the first person in Australia. um, let's talk about surgeries now. Have you gotten any? Do you want any in the future?
Yeah, I got top surgery also in 2021.
Slay.
I was originally, when I started hormones, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait at least a year. I've heard that's like decent, and then 4 months in, I was like, nah, these are coming off. So
These are coming
I just I booked it, and once again, lucky enough, I was able to afford it because that is not covered by any kind of
Yeah.
Medicare or anything like that. So it's expensive.
Hmm.
But yeah, best decision I've ever made. I think that was like when I got that done, that was the moment I was like, yep, this is right. I'm feeling the effects. This is good.
Hmm. Period.
Yeah, and I think other surgeries, like I'm still kind of on the fence when it comes to bottom surgery. I'm like, originally I was kind of like, no way, it's not really something I'd be interested in. But then more and more I've found that, like, as I go on and pass and everything, the bottom dysphoria definitely gets worse. So I haven't completely written it off, but if I was going to get it, that's like decades into the future because it's so bloody expensive
Yeah.
here. And also, it is just like, yeah, such a massive ordeal to go through. I just don't think I could handle that at this
I
stage.
don't blame you, man. Like, I was gonna say, if your top surgery wasn't covered, that'll definitely not be covered. No shot.
Oh, it's like we've got like a one bottom surgeon in the country, I think maybe one or two, and with an insane wait list, and it costs like 100K or more,
Oh my
not including complications.
god. That's vile, dude.
Yeah,
That's horrible.
it is it is completely like it is insane. I That's one of my main issues with Australia and transitioning is how inaccessible it is if you just don't have that kind of money.
Mm.
And it's really common for people to even fly over to Thailand to get their surgeries done because it's cheaper to go to another country.
I mean, like here, I know I mean, I know damn well that bottom surgery costs a lot more than top surgery, but at least like I think at least some insurances cover it. Like the people do have options. It's not just like one surgeon in all of the country that you have to pay 100K for. That's crazy, dude.
Exactly. Like having universal healthcare is fantastic, but for things like this, where it's like one really specific surgery, and if they haven't addressed it yet, then yeah, it's a little bit messed up.
I mean, like at least maybe the bright side of that is at least you aren't like 100% certain you want it. Maybe you won't even need it in the future. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Like at the moment, I'm kind of looking at like those more realistic prosthetics just to be like, hey, maybe I'll give this a try and maybe that'll be enough for me.
yeah.
So, yeah, keeping it open, but I'm keeping one arm untattooed to, just in
That's a
case.
good idea, to be honest. I always forget about that. Damn, now you got me thinking. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't.
fuck. Damn it.
Yep, yep. I've got like one tiny tattoo on the arm I would use, and I'm like, that will just, I don't know where on the dick that would be, but it won't look pretty, but it's stuff that I can live
Do you imagine this umbrella man on a penis?
with.
Oh, I've never thought about that. That's fucking hilarious.
I feel like it would also like be like
Yeah, just
stretched
around the
around as
dick.
well. But then I feel like you could
Oh,
have like major bragging
right.
rights with cis dudes because you'd be like, yeah, I got a tattoo on my dick and it wasn't even painful because I'm just built
Because
like
I'm a
that.
real man. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Real men get tattooed on their
Period.
dicks.
As we should. Uh, yeah, no, that's wild, dude. And I know you said you had to pay out of pocket for your top surgery, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was lucky enough that my parents paid for it.
Nope.
Wasn't something originally I thought they were going to do, but yeah, luckily enough they have the money to cover it in a private health insurance that covered the majority of it. So
That's dope.
um yeah, definitely one of the lucky ones with
No,
that
yeah.
because that's not the case for like the vast majority of people.
No, no, I hear you. Me and my mom split my top surgery, and me too. I
Yeah,
didn't. It's not something I expected her to do, but it helped me out a lot. I
yeah.
mean, like $11,000 here. Like that's not like an absurd amount by any means, but it's still a lot. Like for gender affirming care. Like, are we kidding? It's not plastic surgery, you assholes.
I think it's about the same here, like a bit over 10
Yeah,
grand. Um, which I think, yeah, like it's expensive. It's not completely
yeah,
unreachable if you are in like a more privileged
right.
position.
Yeah,
But it is frustrating when for that kind of surgery you have to go through the private health system where if like you were a cis guy with gynecomastia, you would get that covered by Medicare, and then it would cost less than 5,000. So yeah, it's definitely frustrating.
yeah. No, fuck that. That makes me mad. I was gonna ask you that before, but I'll save that for the later discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but before we get to that, when did you come out as trans?
So it was kind of a really long process that I dragged out for way too long. Like yeah, I don't really know if it was even coming out, but when I first started questioning my gender, I kind of talked about that with my partner who was also trans at the time. we're not together anymore, but yeah, they were very helpful. Like we're just bouncing ideas off, and then I slowly started coming to terms with it, kind of experimenting a little bit with my style, and then name and pronouns and all that. And once I was kind of like, I think this is something I want to do, but I'm still not 100% certain. I came out at uni, so I could get people using my name and pronouns there. And then I was kind of just like that for a year, not telling my family or anything. They kind of knew something was going on, and there was a moment when I was still questioning when my mum kind of saw I was binding and like questioned me, and I wasn't really ready to say anything, which kind of forced the fact. And then yeah, I ended up kind of needing to forcibly out myself to her, but in a very strange way that ended in they knew that I was kind of questioning, but I wasn't out. And then yeah, during COVID, in 2020 when we were all in lockdown, and I was with them 24/7, and I wasn't able to be in that environment in uni and with my friends where they were using that name and pronouns. That's when I was like, oh no, this is actually a thing that is affecting me. So yeah, then I came out like pretty soon after my 20th birthday. And I think having a year of them knowing something was up, but it kind of gave them a year to get used to it a little bit. So yeah, once I actually came out to them and my family, they adapted relatively quickly.
That's good. That's good. I was gonna
Yeah.
say like you. It sounds like you clearly just weren't ready to come out yet.
No, no.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had a very queer friend group growing up. I had a lot of trans friends, and I was always like, I'm the one cis person, and I'm just a really good ally. And I just watch a bunch of trans YouTubers because I'm such a good ally. And then I was just I graduated, went traveling, and was like, I'm just kind of want to try cutting off my hair because I'm definitely just a really butch lesbian. And then I did that, and then I was like, what if I tried pretending to be a guy for a day and dressing up as a guy as just a funny joke? And then yeah, I went to an op shop, got some boys' clothes, put those on, went out, and then I came back and I was like, fuck.
Shit.
And then I didn't change. I just kind of kept wearing those clothes, and then I was like, maybe this is a problem. And then that's when the panic began, and I just kind of doubted myself a lot because I was like, surely if I really was trans, I would have realized in high school when everyone else around me realized.
Mm,
And yeah, I was so certain. I was just like, my mum was always like, you're being influenced by your friend group, like you're doing this because they're all trans and you're dating a trans person. And I definitely internalized that a lot for a long time, so it took a lot to kind of get over that. And I think I only ever like really solidified in my mind that like, oh, this is definitely right for me when I actually started hormones. Like I kind of just needed to rip the band-aid off, and then like the first day I got my injection, I was like, yep, no, this is correct.
period. No, that's good. I was gonna ask you like, I can't like since I had no trans people in my life prior to like the past few years or whatever. I can't imagine growing up with trans people and like just having that always around me,
Yeah,
and then having to question my own gender identity, and then having to come out to those trans people as trans also. That's like a weird concept to me. And then having your
yeah,
mom be like, you're only doing this because your friends are doing it, which is not like, I'm not like
yeah,
blaming her or anything. That's like, many moms would say that. And I don't think it's like completely out of pocket, but like having to like deal with that though sounds horrible.
yeah. because it was also like something that I was already kind of telling myself,
Mm-hmm.
something I saw like as an argument. Like this was right when the whole like rapid onset gender dysphoria thing was going around. So I really had to think very hard and have a lot of internal debates to be like, is this actually something that's impacting me? But I think that I was just drawn to my friend group because we're so similar.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I definitely feel lucky that I had so many trans people around because it meant that had the I had people I could go and ask questions to and who could tell me like the best ways to go and try and get hormones and everything.
Right.
It it just I don't think my transition would have necessarily even have happened as early as it did if I didn't have like an accepting friend group who had been through it, who were like ready to validate me and like ready to actually help me, because otherwise I think I would have just kind of kept ignoring that
Mm-hmm.
feeling.
And I think that's so awesome because I know a lot of people, a lot of transphobic people would say, "Oh, he's only trans because he was friends with trans people growing up and it was in his face when he was little." But like you're sitting here and you're saying, "No, I had those debates in my head." And like, yes, I even questioned that myself. I was self-aware enough to have those debates with myself and I still came out the other side trans. And like, you know, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if you were only
It
trans
doesn't
because of your friends because at the end of the day, that's all any of us are doing. Like I see a cool person, I'm like, "Damn, I'm going to copy their entire personality and I'm going to love every second of it." Like
exactly.
it doesn't even matter.
And like I'm happier like
Mhm.
this, so regardless of how it
Yep.
happened, like
Yep.
this is a better outcome for
Mhm.
me. And I do like looking back, I kind of almost, I don't know if it's the right term, but I almost like gaslit myself into believing there were no signs earlier, even though there absolutely was. Like when I was a kid, all my toys were boy toys. I refused to wear jeans because I only ever saw my mum and my sister wearing jeans. And so I was like, that's a woman thing.
Mm.
So I refused to wear them. And like
Ooh.
stuff like that, where I can see how I just kind of push that stuff aside. And then there were definitely moments in high school, like I bought my friend a binder, and I'd gotten it shipped to my house so I could give it to him safely. And I remember just staring at it, being like, I could try that on right now. I wonder what that would feel like. I wonder what that would look like. And then I somehow managed to convince myself that I would be like appropriating the trans experience if I tried on his binder for some reason. And I think I didn't want to open that can of
Oh.
worms. I was like, I've got enough going on. I had a feeling there was something there, and I didn't want to open
Mhm.
it until I was
Yeah,
ready.
no, you weren't ready yet. No, that's crazy. That's a lot to digest as a young person. Like all of that is just so much to
Yeah.
digest. And then you have one of your parents like telling you that, or forcing you to come out and then telling you it's just because of your
Yeah.
peers. That's crazy. Now, she kind of forced you to come out. You said that wasn't a great time for you, but
No.
did she come around? You said that they helped you pay for your top surgery and everything. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, like my whole family has improved a lot. There's definitely still some issues there, but I think after my top surgery and after seeing how much like happier and more open and just like vibrant I
Mm,
was, I think that's when it started to click that, oh, this is actually real. Um, but it was definitely a long time coming. I've actually got a trans auntie. She came out in
oh,
2005, and that didn't go down very well. Like
mm,
my parents, like up until only like up until only when I came out, was still like every now and then misgendering or dead naming her.
yeah.
There was like it was another time there was a lot of drama around that, and then um, yeah, especially during high school. Like, my mum wasn't a fan of my friends. She didn't understand that. And I think it just, yeah, kind of took me pushing her and not giving in to um, her like alternative explanations for why I was like this, and just kind of showing her through lived experience that I needed I needed this care, and that I wasn't happy living the way I was before.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think she definitely wasn't comfortable with it. And even like right up until when I was going to get top surgery, she was questioning if I this was really something that I wanted to do. Like, she was driving me to the surgery, being like, "Are you sure about this?" But I'm lucky I have my dad, because I think he came around a lot easier. It was definitely a shock to him, but um, yeah, when like I could tell that he kind of took the lead and pushed back on her a little bit, to try and get her to accept me, because originally she was the one who was like, "You're paying for your top surgery. I don't want you to do this." But then when I told Dad about that, he was like, "No, we're paying for it," and just, yeah, really stood up for me like that, which was exactly what I needed at the time, because I wasn't actually sure if they were going to be accepting or not.
Hmm.
Like, I was very much prepared to have to cut them off and leave, because it was, yeah, kind of 50-50 chance of if they would accept me or not. So I think I got really lucky in that
Yeah,
case.
no, 100%. I've had a lot of guests recently who who their dad is the one who started accepting them
Yeah,
first, which I kind of think is really cool because it's like out of the ordinary. You wouldn't expect it from cis men.
honestly, I think my dad just was happy to have another guy in the house.
No, and that's awesome.
We
Like
had like
that's enough.
very, very female household, and I think he was just excited to have a son.
Yeah.
Like, it was very funny when I came out. He just immediately like gave me like the pat on the back hug, and started calling me mate and buddy and stuff that he never would normally do. And it was like a little bit forced, but in that way that was nice, because it was like he was clearly like,
Yeah.
"All right, I'm doing this 100%. I have a son where
Good.
I'm gonna learn how to do this right."
That's awesome. And like I know what you're talking about, those like forced little moments where you see somebody else is like trying to like really get there for
Yeah,
you and it's like uncomfortable and you're
yeah,
both aware of it. But like I wish that in those moments like I could be like, this is uncomfortable and I'm sweating right now, but I appreciate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, damn, I'm
yeah.
uncomfortable, but I also really appreciate this. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. And I think like he he's the kind of typical Aussie dad, where he's never been that like open emotionally or anything like that. Um, but I think he could tell that he just needed to take a step back and let me kind of lead the way. Like, at one point during the year, I accidentally sent him an email from my uni email that had the name Kai on it.
Mm.
And he kind of came and he was like, "Hey, I just got an email where you're using the name Kai. What's that about?" I can't even remember what I said back, because I kind of just completely panicked. And he just left it be and never brought it up again, because he just kind of knew that
Wow.
it wasn't for him to question. Um, yeah, and I think that was the best way for him to deal with it.
That's a good dad. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he is.
I mean, like, I don't, I don't, I don't ever blame a mother for having their initial reaction, unless that
Yeah,
reaction is like verbal abuse or physical abuse, obviously. Like mothers, there's no relationship like mother and daughter, mother and son. Like there's just, you can't replace that. So like in a sense, I understand when a mother feels like they're losing their child. And like I say in all of my
yeah,
episodes, it's like, you get a grace period. You get
yeah.
maybe 3 months to not be with it all the way. And then when those 3 months are over, get with it, girly. Get with it. Because it's happening with or without you.
I think the main issue was just that she kept going on about how hard it was for her, but never really like never really acknowledged that it was hard for me too, even though I gave her a lot of grace and still do. And yeah, I don't entirely blame her. But she I feel like there was a universe where she went down the turf pipeline. Like she's that kind of feminist where one of the first things she said to me when I did kind of have that awkward conversation with her that she kind of forced out of me was like, yeah, like maybe I want to try using like they, them, or he, him pronouns. And she just kind of laughed at that. And then when I was kind of hurt by that, she was like, I don't understand why you like I thought I raised like a strong woman. Like I don't know why you like hate women that much. Like do you really like she very much just assumed it was like internalized misogyny or something like that, believing that I hated women because I wanted to transition. And I was like, that is the complete opposite. The reason it's taken me so long to realize is because I didn't want to be a man because of my experiences with how men were. I, yeah, still to this day am like super feminist. So it's, yeah, that was definitely a bit of a issue to get over. Like it took me a while to unpack that, I think.
I've heard that argument before, and it's the most far fetched fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like,
Yeah,
if you even think like if I didn't even understand femininity or masculinity to that extent when I was coming to terms with my gender identity. Like I didn't know what it really meant to be a feminist, and now that I'm a man, I'm more feminist than I ever have been in my life. If anything, I'm a
yeah.
man. I turned into a man because I hate men. If that makes sense to anybody, like I
That's how I'm so
yeah,
certain.
like
Yeah.
I wanted to be a better man than the ones I've seen because they've treated me and everyone around me so horrible in the past. Like, and that's what makes this shit not a
And
choice.
like trust me, no one tried harder to not be a man than
Yeah,
me. Like
right.
for the longest time I was like trying to force myself to at least be non-binary because for some reason in my brain, even though that's absolutely not the case, it was just kind of like, oh well, at least that's a little bit better. Maybe then I can skate by not coming out to people. It would never have been the case, but yeah, like I'm like I can tell how that's like I know that this is right for me because I didn't really get a choice in it.
True. Yeah. And oh, I feel like when people have that argument of, oh, you're only trying to be a man because you hate women, I feel like it's them. And I know it was your mom who was saying that, but I'm talking about like anybody who has that argument. It's you are taking it personal. You are not thinking about women as a whole. You are thinking about
Exactly.
yourself as a woman and what's wrong with you that that person doesn't want to be like you. And that is you're insecure about your own femininity. Like everything
Exactly.
comes from insecurity, dude. I can't.
Yeah, and I just like I don't see how it's feminist to deny someone's identity because they were born a certain way. Like that's just inherently reducing them like to their biology. And isn't that kind of what we're trying to get away from? Like not just being defined by your genitals.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I'm glad that your family is like supporting you now and they've caught up a bit, it seems like.
Yeah, they've definitely come a long
That's
way.
good.
And I think as I got more confident in my identity and as I started to pass and um, like 3.5 years on, zero regrets, just getting happier with it by the day. I think um, yeah, all they had to do was kind of sit and watch, and then that's how they realized that, oh, okay, this is a real thing that
Yeah.
is correct for him.
No, and that's good. And like I wish I could say that's all it takes, but that's like too much. Like you should have believed me when I said it
Yeah,
3 years ago that this is what I wanted, but whatever, I guess.
yeah, especially after like 10 years of all of my best friends being trans
Yep.
and me just trying to, and also having like with mum having a sister who's
Mhm.
trans and still not being like it took a long time for them to come on board, but I think the fact that my family did end up coming on board is kind of a good it's a good example of I think that like most people are capable of changing their minds. Most people just need to be exposed to it in a personal way,
Yes.
and that will change their mind.
Yes. Because if you never came out as trans, your parents or mom or whatever would still be misgendering your aunt. They would still be transphobic. I know for
Exactly.
sure. I know for sure my mom and my dad would have said some real vile things if I never came out as trans. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I completely changed the way they view that sense of the world. And I just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. Like I'm the reason they're more open-minded now, and that I feel like if if my dad like can do a 180, dude, like that means all of the transphobes in the world could too if they just open their
Yeah.
eyes and realize, oh, you probably have a trans person very close to you some way somehow. If you just open your fucking eyes and listened, oh my god, world peace.
Exactly. It's a bit hard to reduce us to stereotypes if like it's your kid that you've known your whole life, and if you have undeniable proof that their mental health and life in general has only gotten better. Like it's the evidence is right there that you can't change
Hmm.
that.
And I wish it wasn't like when it's your own kid, that's when you'll do a 180 because everybody is somebody's
Yeah.
kid, dude. Like everybody is somebody's kid. Like
You should just have basic human respect for people and their identities. You shouldn't just only wait until it affects you to care about it. And but like if that's what it takes, that's great. I wish it wasn't, but it does mean at least there is kind of a path forward that I can see of just like
yeah.
needing more representation and more visible trans people because then I think that it will change a lot more
Yeah,
minds.
no, I hope so. I really hope so. And then you have the argument, oh, they're just shoving it down our throats. You could do whatever you want as long as you're not shoving it down my throat. I have something else I could shove down your throat. Shut the fuck up. I'm just kidding. My bad.
I wish I could say that to some people. Oh my god.
My bad, YouTube. Please.
God. Like in Australia recently, there was this whole drama with we've got like a national census where like everyone gets surveyed, and we've got supposedly like a left wing government at the
Mm,
moment, and they decided that they were going to not put on questions about your gender and sexuality because it would be too divisive. And then thankfully now they've flipped on that because there was enough backlash to it, which is a good sign for like how Australia is going. But like they didn't even want to count us as a population, and I'm just like, oh my god, really? Like we're not divisive just to exist. You can like regardless of what you think or believe about trans people, you can't deny that we're a population that exists and deserves to be like treated with some basic respect.
mhm. I mean, like, I don't know. They go back and forth even here in the U.S. of being like, oh, but it's such a small community. It really doesn't matter. You guys don't have a say. You're such a small community. And then every presidential debate, every word that comes out of Trump's mouth is about trans people. So, like, are we really that small? Because we're taking up all of your mind right now and you're running to be president. Like, are you
It's
kidding me?
actually it is insane seeing what's like happening over there because it's also kind of being imported here. Like our media is talking about the like presidential debate and what they're saying about trans people. It's wild to me that such a if they say like tiny population, like it's wild to me that we've become such a huge talking point.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's absolutely
Living
ridiculous.
rent free in their minds. Ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Do people in Australia laugh at Americans? Or just the way the presidential debate is going? Like, are we getting laughed at? Be honest.
It's even our conservative media, like yeah, like there's definitely there's definitely like people who like agree, but even then they'll still
Mm,
laugh. Like, yeah,
no,
it's
as they should.
we kind of like we have our news sites calling American politics just a reality show, and like whole articles about how wild and like bad for democracy it is to like treat it as that. Like we don't have those massive live debates or anything. Like we don't have huge personalities in government. Like there's definitely personalities and everything, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just not as um.
It's not like reality fucking
It's just
TV. Like, and it
yeah,
shouldn't be.
no, not at all. It's kind of like a Australian pastime to just like hate your government and like make fun of them and then ignore them until an election comes around. Like it's yeah. So
Oh,
I like even people I know who aren't involved in politics at all. There we will talk about like American politics and what happened. Like we're talking about what happened on the latest season of Love Island. It's wild,
it's embarrassing, dude. It's so funny. I mean, like, I'm not
but we're
embarrassed.
also just kind of sitting here like, please don't elect him. It will affect us too, because like everything that happens in America also affects us.
Mm-hmm.
And so
No, it's
yeah, like once again, like even more conservative people I've talked to, they're all just like, oh my god, can they just not because we're getting impacted?
no, it's ridiculous. I hope that like the people, even like the conservative people in Australia, are watching those TikToks where uh, interviewers will go to like Trump rallies. And have you seen those videos where they'll just
Yep,
they'll just
yep.
embarrass the shit out of Trump supporters? Oh my god, put a mic in front of a Trump
It
supporter and they'll
is
say the dumbest shit. It's so funny. Oh, I cackle every time.
like genuinely, I find myself watching out of just morbid curiosity because
Dude.
I'm like, I can't believe these people are real. Like, we definitely have stuff like that in Australia. Like, and it's been getting worse. Like, we've been getting more and more of that like injected into our politics.
Mhm.
Like the current Liberal, which is our Conservative Party. It's weird. We've got the Liberals are the Conservatives, Labor
That's confusing.
are the not progressives, more just center.
Hmm.
So yeah, I always get confused when Americans talk about liberals. But yeah, it's I completely forgot what I was going to say. Got distracted. But yeah, no, it's strange.
No, it is. It is. And I was just saying that I hope that people that are not in the US are watching those TikToks. Like, what the fuck? Just what the fuck? Because that's what us more progressive people are doing over here. Because I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
it's crazy.
speaking of Australia and what's going on over there at the moment, I know you took my survey, which I appreciate you doing. One of the things you said in the survey is that you did a documentary about the
Yeah,
healthcare, trans healthcare in Australia. And I would love if you
yeah,
shared that with us and told us what it was about.
absolutely. So it's called Uncovered Lives: Australia's Fight for Funded Trans Healthcare, but I just call it Uncovered Lives because it's a very long title. Um, yeah, and it's a short documentary about trans healthcare in Australia, showing how it impacts trans people, specifically looking at the financial side of healthcare in Australia, and advocating for things like surgery and hormones to get covered by Medicare. Um, yeah, we basically just saw it as a very specific issue that doesn't really get talked out about as much. That yeah, I see impacting people around me. This just they can't get the care they need because they can't afford it. Because the trans healthcare isn't seen as medically necessary. So the documentary was basically shedding light on that, talking to like a doctor, a politician, um, about what can be done about that. What are the actual facts about transition and how is it medically necessary? And then showing how not being able to access that care impacts the day to day lives of trans people. So we interviewed a couple of trans men, also from Brisbane. One of them, they were trying to get top surgery, but just couldn't afford it. And then the other one, he was saving up for bottom surgery, and once again, that's like 100 grand, and he was needing to sell his house to be able to get it. Um,
God.
so, yeah, basically showing that is how necessary this is. You don't just sell your house for nothing. He was doing it because he needed it to go on. And the fact that he had to sell his security, especially in this housing market, just to be able to afford this medically necessary care, and yet it's still not covered by Medicare, and it's still like such a private sector and barely talked about, and like people still wanting to take away those rights. It's yeah, it's upsetting. So
Damn, dude.
we just wanted to bring light to that.
No, and as you should. I watched the documentary. It was so good. I was like, "Oh my god, he did this!" Like, wow, you should be really
Thank
proud of
you.
yourself. That shit was dope. It was really lit.
Thank you.
It was clear that you put a lot of time and effort into it. It looked very professional. It was really cool. Um, I I noticed, and it looked so professional. Okay, so like, you spoke with you
Thank
spoke
you.
was that you spoke with a doctor, right? You said.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Fiona Bishop, she's one of the leading trans healthcare doctors in Australia. She's on the board of OzPath, which is the Australian Association for Trans Health. And it's, yeah, she's one of the people who's trying to lead the fight to actually get the um, specifically trans surgeries onto our Medicare benefit schedule, so
That's cool.
it can actually be covered and people can get
That's
it.
really cool. That's important work to be doing.
Yeah,
Um, how did you find her? Did you like already know her, or did you have to seek her out?
she's actually my doctor. Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
She's the health clinic she's at is like the majority of people I know in Brisbane go to her. So I was incredibly lucky to be in the same city as her. I actually didn't realize that when I was going to her. I just got recommended her. I got recommended to her by a trans woman in the community, and so I was like, oh, I'll check her out. And yeah, she's been doing this since the 90s. She was one of the first people to start actually practicing trans healthcare in Australia, because trans healthcare, like surgeries and things, actually used to be covered by insurance and Medicare, and that was taken off.
Mm,
Um, and she kind of stepped up and was like, "All right, well, we're gonna provide healthcare for these people because I've got a bunch of really desperate trans people who have lost their care," and she's been doing amazing work ever since.
that's that that's really cool because, like, I don't know, that takes guts to do as a doctor. I feel like, because everybody's pointing fingers at doctors now when it comes to trans people.
Oh, she's gotten a lot of hate from being so open about it and not being afraid to advocate for like trans kids deserving healthcare, and also for pushing and helping to write the guidelines for informed consent care, which has become a lot more normalized, like largely led by her, which I think is absolutely fantastic because that was how I was able to get on hormones so quickly.
Hmm. No, yeah, no, that's unbelievably awesome. I think that takes, as I said, a lot of guts, a lot of bravery, and we need more doctors like that. Do you think that there is a lot more doctors like that in Australia, or do you think she's like one of the few?
She's definitely one of the best. There's definitely others around, but they tend to be once again isolated in cities, in the major like hubs of each
Mm,
state,
gotcha.
and there's not a huge amount around, with varying degrees of care. And then your general doctors really just aren't educated. They're not taught any of this stuff. They're not allowed to prescribe hormones, which is something she's also trying to change, because then you have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to get an appointment after, and sit on a wait list for months just to get an appointment with a private care professional
Mm,
who is actually decent.
yeah, no, right. That makes me sad. That makes me
Yeah,
sad,
yeah.
and that's not
It
even just in Australia, I feel like. So, my next question for you then is, um, when you were shooting the documentary, like, was it I mean, I know you probably knew all of these things filming, obviously, that's why you wanted to bring light to it, but, like, when it was seen right in front of you and you're hearing stories from other people, from doctors and whatnot, like, did you ever feel like, "Oh, this is just a lot to digest," at all or no?
absolutely, yeah. I think it was definitely difficult, and I had like quite a few difficult days while filming. Just being, it's one thing to know that there's issues, it's another thing to fully immerse yourself in it for as long as it takes to make a documentary. And not just that, but I was the director of it, and I also presented in it, which wasn't something I was originally going to do. But when we pitched for documentary, everyone I pitched to said, you should be the presenter, you should, like, there should be that personal, like, it should be led by a trans person. And I agreed with them, so I decided, yeah, let's. I will present, and just kind of putting myself out there, running the interviews. It was incredibly confronting and got quite depressing a few times because, like, yeah, I was just fully confronted with this reality, and then um, talking with people outside of a documentary, I realized they know nothing about this. This is like, it feels like such an uphill battle because no one's even talking about it. And yeah, it I'm glad I did it, absolutely, and wouldn't have changed it for the world. But I definitely think that when I did it was maybe like a little bit too early in my transition, because I had only, when I pitched the documentary, we filmed like about 6 months after that. But when I pitched it, I was only about a month or two after my top surgery.
Mm.
Like, I was still baby trans. I was still like grappling with it myself and learning to accept myself. And I think that hearing about how hard it is for people to get this care, and hearing about how much everyone is against us, I think it was definitely a little bit damaging for my mental health while I was making it. But I've had a really good support system around me, and I'm glad I did it because I think it's important.
Yeah. No, and you should be very proud of yourself because you did an awesome job. I'm glad you were a presenter, and I think that's awesome. Um, it's one thing to just know about it, like the struggles of trans people, and then it's a completely other thing to see it right in front of you, like in such a huge way.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. Before I started the podcast, I thought I knew things about the trans community. Like, I thought I knew how bad it was. Like, that's crazy. Like, that I thought that I knew. Like, I don't know. So I feel you.
yeah,
It gets hard to digest, but then you look back and you're like, "Oh shit, I did that." Like, I even
yeah.
if it wasn't like the biggest change in the trans community, it's like I put an effort in to the fight to end transphobia, and that's enough. You know what I mean?
And it was amazing because I got to see it have actual real life
Yeah.
impact and actually improve the lives of people. And that is like more than I could have hoped for, with what originally started as just a uni project while I was studying film at university.
Mm.
So yeah, it was, uh, despite like any of the struggles, it was so rewarding to be able to do that, and I'm like so grateful I got the chance, because I know I was in a very unique position that a lot of people wouldn't be in, where I was comfortable and confident enough to be able to put myself out there. I had the experience, I had the community around me, and I also had access to the resources and the knowledge to be able to actually make a film, which and specifically for Australia as well, because there's not actually much content out there focused around Australian issues, Australian trans issues. So I, yeah, I'm just grateful I got the chance to do it. And we actually were able to fundraise a lot of money and helped uh, Mika, the guy who was selling his house. We actually helped him to be able to afford his surgery because he was able to buy a caravan with the money we raised, um,
Wow.
which meant that he was able to like actually have the money to do the surgery and recover.
That's huge.
And we were able to put a few thousand towards Leo's top surgery fund as well. So
Damn.
it's fantastic to be able to see, like, just if you put in the effort in such a small, close knit community, you really can improve things even when it seems hopeless and like people aren't out to get you. If you just get out there, do the work, it will make a difference, even if it's small.
Yeah.
It will drastically change someone's life.
100%. I agree with you. And I think, if more trans people, and I understand why a lot of trans people don't, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not being
Absolutely.
in front of a camera and whatever if you're trans, but if more trans people did it, more of that would come from it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah, and I don't fault anyone who doesn't want to do that. Like, it is definitely scary. I like, thankfully we've had such a fantastic reception. There has been no backlash or anything like that. But it was definitely a conversation I had with the people who were going to be appearing on camera with my film crew, being like, "Hey, there is always a possibility that this could cause some serious backlash. This, like, people are deranged.
mhm.
People hate trans people. It could get dangerous." And I'm so thankful it didn't. Um, but yeah, I just believe that when I have the privilege to have been able to transition to be living in a progressive country where I can actually access this stuff, to be able to have a supportive family and community around me, I think that I just kind of see it almost as a responsibility for myself to give what I can back to help the people who I know can't.
Yeah, no. And I think that's absolutely great. Really, for real. You should be very proud that it doing that is the most like I don't know. Like when I do this, it I feel like it gives me worth. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so
Yeah,
it feels good. And at the end of the day, if even if every video gets 0 views, I don't care because it's making me feel good. That's all I fucking care about at the end of the day.
yeah, it's too easy to just kind of sink into despair and just be like, it all
You know?
sucks. But I think it's not just good for the people around you. It's good for your own mental health to be able to know that at least you're doing what you can. I mean, that's why I wanted to come on this, because I've been listening to it while I've been driving for work and everything, and just it's been so good to like actually hear community discussions that I haven't really heard before and have that outreach. So it's like, even if you don't have the biggest community ever, like, I mean, you've reached me across the globe, and it's like genuinely, like, it's genuinely been um really, yeah, really good to just hear that trans positivity and like get to know like how big our community is.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. And when you said you've reached me all the way across the globe, like, oh, that's crazy.
I've just stumbled into your content and I've been watching ever
Thank
since.
you.
So
No, that means the
yeah,
world. I appreciate
you've
it.
got outreach.
I guess I do. I guess I do. That's everything to me. I mean, like,
You're doing a great
thank you.
job.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'm doing what I can. Doing what I can. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite part of the documentary?
I think definitely has to be the, I think the end fundraising segment. After all the interviews and everything, it we had a live fundraising event. This is something we actually did, where we got a bunch of live local bands, and had a huge fundraising event where we sold art, we talked about the documentary, and we were able to raise almost $10,000 to go towards um, both like a brother boy and sister girl charity, which is the First Nations people, trans people. So we were able to raise money towards a charity for them, and also raise money to go towards the surgery funds for Mika and Leo, and also just do some community outreach. It was super cool. We had a way bigger a way bigger reception than we thought we would, because none of us had ever even organized an event before, but we just thought, hey, how hard can it be? Let's go. And yeah, we like I was able to sell some of my art to raise even more money. Um, Mika and Leo and their partner, they were able to sell their own art. We had local trans artists. We had an insane amount of bands reaching out to us saying they wanted to perform here for free so they could support the cause. We had like community members all coming to check it out. But not just that, we had like a random bridesmaid party saw that it was happening and just showed up because they thought it would be interesting. And then afterwards, were like actually learning about this issue.
Yeah.
And it was just the most surreal event I've ever done. I couldn't believe that we were able to pull it off.
So awesome.
And it I think that that's my favorite part, because that's the part that really shows like not just a film, not just preaching to the choir, but like how you can do grassroots organizing to actually make a difference, and to just see the smiles on the faces of the people's lives that we were actually able to help.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that was probably my favorite part of documentary, because it's just a positive end and shows that like regardless of how bad it is, regardless of how many people against you, we have such a strong and vibrant community, and the vast majority of people want us to be okay, want us to succeed, and want to support us. And so many people who aren't vocal about trans rights simply just don't know that it's an issue. They and outreach events like that really help it.
100%. And I mean, I bet you it showed you, showed everyone around you, but probably through your documentary, it showed like what trans people are capable of when we come together. You know what I mean? Like that's
Exactly.
huge.
And it was so important to me to end on a positive
Hmm.
note. Like I think positivity is so important to keep up, no matter how bad things seem, and it's important to show that yeah, like these two trans people, they hadn't had their surgeries yet. They were struggling. They were still living full, happy lives. They still had partners and hobbies. They were still just people doing their best. And this healthcare is so necessary for them. But if you can't access it right now, if you are struggling, that doesn't mean your life is over. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And that doesn't mean that you can't find happiness and joy, and that you won't eventually get there. Um, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the opening shots of me at the beach, because that was the first time I'd ever gone swimming with my shirt off. And it was the most insane experience to me. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of capture that feeling at the start and at the end, just to remind people that, yeah, just stay positive
Yeah.
and just know that it will change, and you will be happy one day.
Yeah. No, and that's the biggest message you could send to trans people, and I think you successfully did that in your documentary. And anybody listening right now can bet their bottom dollar that I will be linking the documentary in the description below. Please, 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 please Go give it a watch. Go
Absolutely.
get a watch. You won't regret it.
You can watch it for free on
Oh yeah.
YouTube, and follow along all of our social medias, just Uncovered Lives. And yeah, we I really just want people to watch it, to share it with their families, to have those discussions.
Yeah, 100%. Please go do that. It will be in the description below. And dude, thank you for sharing that. Like I feel like if I hadn't watched it, I just watched it right now. Like that was awesome. I appreciate you. And I hope that people
I'm
go
glad.
click the
Thank you.
link in the description below right after watching this video because it is a really important thing to see, trends or not.
It's only about 15 minutes
Yeah.
as well. It's a
Yeah.
short
Short little
documentary.
guy and it's worth the watch, I promise. Um Brother in arms, where can people follow you?
So you can follow me at just Kai.Wharton, Kai spelled with two eyes, because I think it was already taken the other way. And yeah, or you can follow my art Instagram at Kai.Latte, also with two eyes.
Yes.
And then also, yeah, you can follow Uncovered Lives on mostly Instagram is where we would be the most active, but really any social media. And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Watch the documentary, and we're all busy with life and full time work right now, but eventually we are really hoping to continue and make more stuff and make like a mini series or something. So whenever we are able to actually make that happen, if you're following all of our socials, you'll be able to keep up and watch all that stuff.
Hell yeah, brother. Please, please, please. All of those socials will be linked in the description below. Please go give him a follow because this was a great episode. And real quick before we go, because I almost forgot, give me those trans songs of the week.
Yes. Oh god, I spent so long trying to think about what to choose. So I ended up just being like, yeah, let's just shamelessly represent Brisbane. And I chose Second by Hope D. She's a brilliant queer artist in Brisbane. She actually performed at the fundraiser that we did. And she is Second is kind of, it's about a needing to escape reality, and wanting to just escape by any means. It's a bit of a depressing song, but I find it very cathartic.
I love sad
It's
music.
not necessarily about being trans, but it just hit really hard during those rough periods, when I was figuring myself out. And um, yeah, just kind of let me get out those feelings of like, I didn't think this would last for this long. I like want to just kind of, I don't want this to be real. I want to ignore it and do anything I can to ignore that feeling. Yeah, so it just kind of, it hits hard in that way. It's also just a banger of a song.
I love sad music. To get happy, I listen to sad music. And call me a psychopath, but it fucking works.
Yeah.
Okay? It works. I absolutely love it.
There's nothing better than screaming along in the car to like some upbeat sad music.
Mm, 100%. It's my favorite thing to do to this day. That
Yeah.
song will be in the HRT Trend Song of the Week playlist on Spotify. Make sure you check that out. Follow it. Add it to your liked playlist or whatever. How Spotify works, I don't know. I'm still new to Spotify. But yeah, do that. Check it out. And that's it for this episode. This was a great freaking episode, and I appreciate you so much for doing it with me. I feel like I learned a lot about Australia that I didn't
Thank
know.
you so
Yeah, of
much.
course. Are you the? Yeah, you're the first. I think you're the first guest that I've had in Australia. I think, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I am honored to represent the land down under.
Down under. I love it. 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 Oh, it makes me so happy.
I swear I'm not even putting it on.
All right, everyone. Make sure you follow me at HRT Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Follow my Twitch. I go live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out After Dark if you haven't already. It comes out every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please, 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 for the love of all fuck, subscribe to my Patreon. I have a lot of bonus content on there. If you don't want to subscribe to my Patreon, Patreon has a new feature where you can just buy certain episodes. They're very cheap. I made them all like $3. Some a little bit more than that, but like $3. So if you don't want a monthly subscription, you could just buy episodes. Please go do that. I'm a small little creator. trying to make my dreams come true. So if you could do that, it would really help me out. And if you could hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, a comment, share your thoughts, what you think about his story, what you think about my stupid commentary. I would really, really appreciate it. It goes a long way. And yeah, that's it for this week, y'all. Kai, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
I will see you guys next week. Bye. I copied your fucking accent. I told you it was gonna happen, dude.